Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, Napoleon Bonaparte, the end of the four great conquerors.
A world reshaped by the will of a single man. Armies topple, empires rise, and the course of history bends at their command. These were the conquerors, men who carved their names onto the very fabric of civilization. Alexander the Great, with his unwavering ambition; Julius Caesar, whose cunning mind reshaped Rome; Genghis Khan, the merciless ruler who united the barbarian tribes; Napoleon Bonaparte, the tactical genius who dominated Europe. Alexander the Great, whose full name was Alexander III of Macedon, was one of the most important people in history. He was known for being a military genius, a strategy genius, and for his desire to take over the whole world. Alexander was born in 356 BC in Pella, which was Athens' capital at the time. Alexander the Great wanted power and glory more than anything else. This drove his victories and goals. As soon as he became king of Macedon at age 20, Alexander started a never-ending mission to make his kingdom bigger and cement his place in history. Alexander wanted to do even better than his predecessors and leave a memory that would last forever. The heroic deeds of his hero Achilles served as inspiration for him. The first thing he did was beat the Persian Empire, which had been the most powerful country in the world for a long time and was a tough enemy. With unmatched combat skill and strategic insight, Alexander quickly took over huge areas of land from Greece to Egypt and beyond. Soon, his kingdom covered a huge area of land that included parts of Asia Minor, the Levant, and Egypt. This made him famous as one of the best rulers in history. However, Alexander's trip into the Indian region would turn out to be the hardest thing he ever did. Alexander's combat skill and the toughness of his opponents were both shown in the Battle of India, especially in his fight with King Porus. Even though they faced a lot of opposition, Alexander's troops won, but it cost them a lot. It was hard on his men, and they were tired and wanted to go home. During this time, Alexander's once unstoppable facade started to show cracks, which meant that his victories were coming to an end. Alexander died too young, at 32 years old. His huge kingdom fell into chaos as his generals fought for power. His empire's breakup marked the end of an age and the start of a new one in history. For hundreds of years, scholars have been trying to figure out how Alexander died. Some old sources say he died of fever or poisoning, but modern experts have come up with other ideas, such as that he was killed or contracted malaria or typhoid fever. Even more mysterious is the fact that no one knows how Alexander the Great died. This makes him one of history's most famous people. Alexander's fights could still be heard, but in the East, a new power was rising. People all over the world would be scared when they heard the name Genghis Khan. Temujin was Genghis Khan's real name. He started the Mongol power and was its first great Khan. The Mongol Empire grew to be the biggest power ever, spanning from Eastern Europe to East Asia. There are many stories about his life, but he was and is one of the most powerful and important military leaders in history. His victories and methods of acquiring power were characterized by both a cunning strategy and a vicious drive. Genghis Khan brought the Mongol groups together by using both military strength and political skill to make agreements and strengthen his control over them. In the early 1300s, he started his gains by bringing together the different Mongol groups. He then went on a merciless mission of growth across Asia and Europe. Genghis Khan came to power through a mix of military strength and smart public administration. He came up with new ways to fight in battle, like using horses and defensive warfare, to beat his enemies and grow his kingdom. Nevertheless, Genghis Khan wasn't just an invader. He also set up a complex administration system that made running his huge kingdom easier. He set up a system of law and order, religious tolerance, and equality that helped his kingdom grow and last long after he died. Several sources say he died of the bubonic plague, while others say he was killed in battle or by a murderer. Because there isn't much solid proof, scholars have had to guess and argue, which has made Genghis Khan's life and death even more mysterious. Roman ancestor Julius Caesar wanted a different kind of power. Julius Caesar, one of the most famous and controversial people in ancient Rome, was very important in turning the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire. Caesar was born in Rome on July 12 or 13, 100 BC, into a wealthy noble family. His upbringing was characterized by privilege and political aspiration. Caesar became an adult amid a period of social turmoil, a corrupt government, and war. His speech, philosophy, and legal knowledge grew. This helped him build public speaking and diplomatic abilities for his political career. Famous historian Julius Caesar was influenced by Alexander the Great's achievements. Alexander impressed Anthony Caesar because he had conquered and built an empire. Caesar aspired to emulate Alexander's conquests and reputation as he gained power in Rome. Caesar guided his rise to power and glory by respecting Alexander. Caesar gained power in Rome via shrewd tactics, military battles, and a thorough grasp of Roman affairs. Caesar forged agreements with influential individuals and gained money and influence as he progressed. He was a good commander and strategist, but his military achievements, particularly in Gaul, made him renowned. Caesar strengthened and went closer to conquering Rome with each victory. Caesar got stronger and more ready to breach Roman law. Caesar famously crossed the Rubicon River with his army in 49 BC against official censure and a trial. Caesar asserted himself after a civil war. Caesar took over Rome and practically limitless control over the Republic when the Senate was in disorder and his enemies flawed. Caesar's dictatorial leadership alarmed several senators and Roman elites who feared his expanding authority. Senate senators intended to assassinate Caesar on the Ides of March 44 BC, including some of his closest friends. Caesar's death stunned the Roman society and caused political and social upheaval. 100 years later, during the chaos of the French Revolution, another dream of invasion would set the world on fire. Napoleon Bonaparte, a smart politician who wanted power, would be the main character. The military genius and politician Napoleon Bonaparte, who was born in Corsica, came from relative obscurity to become one of history's most famous people. He had a huge effect on Europe and the rest of the world, starting a time of war and change. Napoleon Bonaparte became famous during the turbulent years of the French Revolution. He is often praised as one of history's best military minds. His lightning-fast rise from a relatively unknown army officer in Corsica to the leader of France shows how smart and charming he was as a leader. Napoleon's military battles in Europe showed off his new strategies, quick movements, and clear wins. His use of mass drafting, weapons, and planned strikes changed the way war was fought and made him famous as a great planner and thinker. His dream of a united Europe ruled by France drove him to start a series of bold military operations that took over large parts of the continent and set up puppet governments all over it. Napoleon's forces marched non-stop from the hot sands of Egypt to the snow-covered fields of Russia. His never-ending desire for fame and power drove him. Napoleon's dramatic decline from power, which culminated in his crushing defeat at the Battle of Waterloo, was only slightly slower than his quick ascent to power. The fight, which took place on June 18, 1815, ended Napoleon's plans to rule all of Europe and made him one of the most famous people in history. The Duke of Wellington and Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher led a group of European forces that Napoleon badly lost. This crushed his hopes of building an empire. The Battle of Waterloo was a major turning point in European history. It signaled the end of a period characterized by Napoleonic victories and the start of a period of stability and peace. Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo ended his hopes of a French-ruled Europe. Napoleon's troops were courageous and strategic, but he couldn't defeat his foes' combined power at Waterloo, and his empire fell. Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena in the South Atlantic after losing Waterloo. He served his life in jail. Napoleon was furious, irritated, and missed his great successes while in exile, when he lost all his influence and was shut off from the world. Even though he tried to seem authoritative, Napoleon's latter years were filled with sickness, loneliness, and sadness. Napoleon Bonaparte died in St. Helena on May 5, 1821, after a fascinating and strange life. His death ended a period of ambition, invasion, and bloodshed. The map, once splashed with the vibrant colors of their empires, now fades. Did their ambition outlive them, or did their conquests become the very chains that strangled their legacies? For more journeys through the past, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Until then, ponder this: can true victory exist in the wake of such vast conquest?